Hey everyone, Jason Adkins, Executive Director of the Minnesota Catholic Conference. I have the blessing and privilege of being here with Dr. Patrick Graff from American Federation for Children, where he serves as the Senior Fellow and is an outstanding researcher on school choice issues, measuring their impact. First of all, before we get into the substance of why you're here in Minnesota today, tell us about why school choice matters to you and why you've decided to make this research your profession and life's work.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, I mean, the story for me actually started in the classroom as a third grade teacher. So I taught and began my teaching career in education in a third grade classroom in a Catholic school in Tampa, Florida. And about a third of the kids in my class were only able to attend because of then at the tax credit scholarship program. Today is an ESA program. At the time it was a low-income, pretty small program where a lot of families who attended our church on Sunday were not in the school. And as a result of the tax credit scholarship, a lot of them were able to kind of bring those values and their faith into the classroom with them as a part of their educational experience, which was really powerful for both our school and broader community. So I saw that as kind of on the front lines for the first time and just totally fell in love with the issue. Went on to go and work with teachers around the country and studied teachers and got really interested in how to improve the education system and settled on school choice as being one of those levers that can really do a lot to benefit education systems.
Wonderful. There was a hearing today in the House Education Finance Committee, a presentation about education savings accounts, which longtime viewers know we've been a strong advocate for, our 7K for Kids program that we've been promoting with our partner organization, Opportunity for All Kids. And we heard some amazing stories from two students in Iowa whose lives were literally changed because they had an ESA. Talk a little bit about how those stories impacted and moved you.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, and I think we've been involved in Iowa for quite some time at American Federation for Children, and to see some of the fruits of the school choice movement in general kind of bear these new realities for kids in education has been really powerful. Particularly for students who, there's the academic side to school choice where it's like maybe you don't have a good fit on, you're having a bad year and not getting good grades, but for a lot of kids it's really related to things like behavior, mental health. You might not be finding a good fit with peers, you might be getting bullied. There was one student who spoke to that today, and I thought that was really powerful because a lot of folks will immediately jump to the academic achievement, which I care about and researchers care about a lot, but you also have to realize there's so many elements that go into picking a good fit for families and their kids.
Yeah, school choice allows schools to meet each unique student where they're at. If you like your public school, you can keep it, but if you need something else, the school choice program allows you to have that access. And we heard some amazing stories today. One young woman whose mom was working 2 jobs, single parent, couldn't afford to get out of a difficult public school setting, but when she had that ESA, she was able to attend the school that's helped her, and now she's in college and flourishing. Another student had ADHD, was bullied, and was able, once that scholarship came through, to attend a private Catholic high school. So really some inspiring stories today, but what you presented about, Patrick, which is a sometimes forgotten part of the school choice story, is the way in which the competition that's created for students with school choice programs really improves public school performance as well. Tell us a little bit about your research into what happened in Florida when they enacted robust school choice programs there.
Yeah, so when I was teaching in Florida, I often thought about the scholarship program really as how it affected the kids in my class, and I could see that very tangibly as a teacher. But interestingly, there was a public school literally down the street from our private school. It was less than half a mile away. At recess, I could see the kids kicking the soccer ball around in the yard. And afterwards, you hear these public policy debates that I think get very detached from the families who are experiencing school choice. And they often talk in terms of, well, what happens to the public schools? What happens to those kids? Sometimes they'll use the phrase like left behind in public schools. And actually, that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I wasn't sure, why should we be spending resources on some kids in our state, but not other kids in our state if we care about the education of all of our children. But also I knew that there was this research literature on the competitive effects. So what happens when you create some competition? Parents can see if something's not working, they respond and they can leave, and then the school's like, oh, how do we respond to these parents who, a couple of them are leaving our school every year, we should probably go talk to them more, we should address some of the needs of those students better. And so one of the best studies of competitive effects ever published was done on the state of Florida. And so it was interesting because my kids were in the data in this study that we looked at. And so basically what they found was over 15 years, as the tax credit scholarship program there scaled up, students in high areas of competition, so these would be over half of the public school students in the state that were near private schools, they experienced significant academic gains as a result of the program getting bigger, which is exactly the opposite of what a lot of the folks who were testifying against the program back in 2003 when it first began said was going to happen. They said this would destroy the public schools, that the public schools were going to get worse, that this is taking resources away that don't benefit public schools. But in fact, they found the exact opposite. And I think interestingly, they also found that it wasn't just the academic achievement, but the number of suspensions in those high competition schools went down as well as absenteeism, which we know is a big problem right now. So we believe that there are probably even more benefits beyond that, or just not going measured in the research.
You mentioned higher college enrollment.
Exactly, right. So in Ohio, we have another state that has looked at this for the first time, where kids who are eligible for the voucher program in Ohio, they didn't use it, but they were in those schools, these F-rated schools, low-income districts that could have used it. Those schools seemingly also responded to that competitive pressure, because the researchers found that students in those schools, compared to the ones that were not eligible, all public school kids, were enrolling in college at higher rates, even though they never used the program. And this was at the same time that the kids who actually did use the program were over 30% more likely to enroll in college as a result of using that voucher. So great for the kids who used it, and generates benefits for the public schools.
One number that really stood out for me, and you can correct me if I'm getting my digits wrong here, is you talked about what would happen if public schools increase spending by about $3 billion. It would add about 5 to 6 days worth of instructional time and educational benefits. But if you spend that same amount of money on a school choice program, it could be up to 150 or 160 days of educational benefits. Did I get that number right?
Yes, very close. So yeah, basically, there's this other rich literature, and now that has really matured in the last 5 to 10 years, on the effects of additional school spending on public school student outcomes. So one of the highest quality studies that's been published on this brought together 31 studies from across the country of all these different school spending experiments to say, these are the 31 highest quality studies. If we put all of that together, what can we on average kind of expect? When you spend more money, this is what you get. And that's the research that all the folks cite when they come to the legislature and they say, hey, we should spend more money on our public schools. Look, the research says more money, better outcomes. So really, I just put these two head to head. So I said, in the context of Florida, we know how much competition benefited kids, and we know how much that program cost. It was about $2.8 billion over 15 years. And then we also know these estimates of school spending and how that affects public school kids. So let's just see what's better bang for our buck. Where is the cost effectiveness argument here if you're just thinking about the public school kids? This isn't even the kids who are benefiting from the scholarships, having those life-changing opportunities. Let's just think narrowly about the public school system. Incredibly, what I found was that the private school choice program in Florida generated benefits that were 11 times more cost effective than if you had spent those same dollars on the same public school kids over that same amount of time in those high competition public schools. And that was 1.5 million kids. So after 15 years, those 1.5 million kids were 2/3 of a school year ahead of where they would have been otherwise. And that's pretty remarkable, right? I mean, it takes a long time, takes 15 years, but that completely blows up this narrative that school choice is going to harm your public school system, that your public school system is never going to recover as a result of these programs. I really feel like these are not zero-sum decisions, right? You can fund private school choice programs, provide an option for some segment of your families that want that. We often see, right, it's around maybe 10% of families in a state attend private schools. We don't even have enough private schools to get to even to 20%. There's just no space for that, right?
Yep.
But even just providing that opportunity for a handful of families, low-income families who need it the most, generated all these benefits for the public school system and really incentivized them to spend their money well. And I think that's really the challenge, right? There's a number of states right now that have no private school choice, will never have private school choice in the near future, and are increasing spending. It might be having a small marginal effect, but at a certain point, every extra dollar is buying you less. And it's not going into necessarily a very efficient system. So I think part of what is happening with the private school choice story here is that competition actually helps align incentives well within the public system, in addition to the benefits for these private schools.
Well, we keep increasing spending here in Minnesota, and things are only getting worse. So it's time to start trying something new, and ESAs are one way to perhaps do it. So thank you for your research. Thanks for being here in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people learn more about your work and American Federation for Children?
Yeah, visit us at federationforchildren.org, and you can find a copy of the study there linked, as well as we published a piece with a publication called EdNext called School Choice or School Spending, so you can check that out too if you want to learn more about the research.
Patrick Graff, thanks
Yeah.
so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
God bless.